Appreciate that. Okay, so we are now recording. And so I'll officially welcome you guys to our very first pre-conference session leading up to Solar Power International and Smart Energy Week next month. We're super excited to be offering this program. Again, this is our first time doing this, so we're glad to have you here. And we do know that there's probably going to be a couple other folks popping in after classes end for them. But we're excited to bring you this first session. Before we get started, I want to tell you a little bit about who Repowering Schools is, so you understand where this is coming from. And then we'll go around the room because I always like to get to know the audience here so we know who we're talking to. And then I'm going to turn it over to Tony Smith, who is an amazing career coach who's going to be talking to you about different topics around career planning to get you ready to come to an industry event in hopes of getting the best and the most out of it. And then we're just going to wrap up and make sure that everybody understands when the next call is. And Tony may have a little bit of homework for you, a couple of action items that to get you prepared for the next session. We're probably not going to be at the full 2 hours, depending on how interactive and how many questions you guys have. But the plan was for this to be about a 120-minute session. So with that, I just want to introduce Repowering Schools. We are a nonprofit organization, and I am the executive director. I'm Remy Pengel. If you notice from my email, I also wear a second hat. I work at James Madison University in Virginia and run our Center for the Advancement of Sustainable Energy, leading all of the K-12 outreach. And so our nonprofit is run by an amazing board of advisors. And I show you this because one of the big pieces of what we are offering to you guys is not just career planning, but mentoring. And so you may see some of these amazing industry folks that are part of our organization's board within the mentoring group that we introduce you to on the next call. But we're a nonprofit organization that really just works to connect the renewable energy education world with industry. We work at the college level, but also at the K-12 level. And it's really about kind of moving kids through the pipeline to make sure we have an insured workforce for this renewable energy industry that's growing by leaps and bounds right now. So we are a very active network. We work with schools all over the country, and these schools and states that you see here are kind of historic states that we've been working with for many years. And you'll see maybe some of the states that you guys are from. And if you're not familiar with the program and how to get involved in your state, let me know, and I can always hook you up with one of these amazing networks. But we work at the university level, and the folks at the universities are engaging in coursework related to wind and solar. They're providing research opportunities, career fairs, and other networking opportunities. And we're going to hear a lot next session about some other college level opportunities that you may want to get involved in if you're not already involved. And so what you're seeing here in this picture is part of the testing that's done for the collegiate wind competitions. This is a wind tunnel at James Madison that were used for testing the wind turbine that they build. We also work at the K-12 schools, just ensuring that kids are seeing renewable energy in the classroom, that teachers know that there are resources out there to teach this, and offering competitions like a Kid Wind Challenge or a Solar Structure Challenge for kids to apply the renewable energy knowledge to win prizes and compete against each other, which is super fun, right? But then we also really include communities in this, and we really do encourage all of our educators to not only work with the students, but to work with the community to better explain what wind and solar projects can mean to a community by going to town halls, holding community outreach events, or even offering tours of local facilities to local government officials who might be permitting or regulating a new project in a community. So really kind of coming full circle with the full education of renewable energy. Nationally, we do a lot of other things. We run an awards program. Our collegiate excellence awards are coming up along with our industry champions. We fund a lot of the work that's going on at all these state networks. We host a renewable energy education summit every year, and we offer these pre-conference services and student and educator scholarships. So we're trying to make sure that we're doing the most and the best that we can to really support education, but encourage industry to be part of that support. So with that, we have some amazing sponsors that we want to thank, who made this pre-conference session and your travel scholarships, if you're taking advantage of one of those, possible. So with that brief introduction to Repowering Schools, I would love to meet the folks in the room. So Brian and Tyler, right? Do you guys want to go first? Oh, maybe I should tell you what to say. Who you are, what your major or course of study is, what year you're at, and maybe why you're excited about the sessions and the conference.
Sure. So I'll go first. My name is Tyler Reniszewski. I'm an ISAT major at James Madison University. And I'm actually working with Dr. Jonathan Miles under him to make a tailored concentration, which is just, it's called Sustainable Energy Design and Development. I felt like that was a better fit for me, more so than the energy concentration was. And Remy, I'm actually working with the CWC team this year. So I heard your name last night, actually. So it's actually good to see a face. But I don't know. I'm very interested in renewable energy, all aspects of it. And so I feel like this is a good stepping stone for me to kind of understand more about the real world. And so, yeah, I'm just really looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thanks, Tyler.
My name is Brian. I'm also in ISAT, and my concentration is in energy, and I'm a senior. And what's the second part?
Where excited?
Why you're
I'm excited about this? Well, I just wanted to understand more about renewable energy and like help me better understand like what kind of direction I want to go into when it comes to career. And yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys both for being here. We're excited. You have a couple other JMU counterparts that also registered. I think they just have classes in there, hoping to join a little later. So awesome. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
How about Sadia?
Hi, I'm Satya, and I'm a second year graduate student at UC Davis, and I am studying energy systems. And currently, like, my research is related to buildings and energy, but I am an international student, so we have a really good school for renewable energy in our country. So I wanted to learn more about energy sector as a whole, not just specific to buildings energy. So excited to be here.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here. And Ines, I'm not sure.
Ines. Yes.
Okay.
My name is Ines. I'm a graduate student at the Texas A&M University Energy Institute. I'm pursuing a master's degree in energy. And I used to be in the oil and gas for 20 years, and all of a sudden I decided to do a brave step and move and transition to the clean energy sector. So I'm very excited to learn about all aspects since this is very new to me. So that's my main. I would like to network and understand more and utilize the knowledge I've gained in school.
Wonderful. Well, it's so nice to have you here, and hopefully this will fit the bill for you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, with that, I'm gonna introduce you guys to Tony Smith, and he is with Center Smith Coaching and Development, and is gonna talk to you guys about some topics around career planning. And I'm gonna let him introduce himself, and I'm gonna stop sharing so he can share his screen.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it. Let me get this up here. I lost it. go. All right. Like I was telling Remy earlier, I'm going to try and keep up with the chat. If you have questions, feel free to put them in there, but also feel free to interrupt me too. If there's something that comes up that you have a question about or anything, let me know. It is being recorded. If you can turn your camera on, that's great. It helps create some community when question and answer comes up, but if you're not comfortable, that's totally understandable as well. But as Remy said, I'm Tony Smith. I own Center Smith Coaching and Development, but Remy and I know each other from a stint that I did at NREL, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory here in Colorado. That's where I am right now, Denver, Colorado. I led a team of researchers there for about a year on some studies for onshore land-based and offshore wind workforce development research. And so some of those studies are coming out actually today. I saw on LinkedIn some of the research that we were doing about a year ago came out. So what skills are necessary, what education is necessary to enter into the wind and or renewable energy sector. But my background, I have a PhD in education. Higher education student affairs leadership is the specific area. I've worked in higher ed for about 20 years, and 13 of those years I was the director of the Experiential Learning Center at University of Colorado, Denver, and did a lot with career development for students and alumni within higher education. And so my publications and my research and my work with students and even private clients has that foundation of career development. So everything we're talking about today is based in that experience. I do own a private practice as a coach and consultant as well. But right now, my full-time gig is with a nonprofit called Colorado Inclusive Economy. And what we are doing is working to create a more inclusive economy in the state of Colorado. So people of color, gender equity, LGBTQ issues as they relate to pay and entry into the workforce, making sure that that is an equitable process for everyone. So we have about an hour and a half approximately. We probably won't take all of that time depending on how conversational things are and how interactive things get, but we're going to talk about resumes, elevator pitch, informational interviewing, and connecting with your campus career center, as well as working a career event like SPI. So we'll have some time for questions and discussion throughout the presentation today, but also if you need to get up and just take a bio break, I haven't built them in, but feel free to just put in the chat BRB and let us know that you're going to be right back. It's totally understandable. It's a long time to sit in one place. You will also get a copy of this slide deck that I put together with Remy, and it's interactive. So I've included links to resources. So we might not in the presentation actually click through to those resources, but for resume formatting examples or sample informational interview questions, things like that throughout will be clickable. I've also included a slide toward the end that is going to take you, it's a direct link to each of your university career center websites. So you can close that loop and do some homework between this session and our reflection session that's scheduled for later in September. So hopefully that closes the loop for you and provides you with some additional help on your own campus to talk about and work through some of the things that we're going to be talking about today. Any questions before we get started? Nope.
Nothing so far.
All right.
And I apologize that I have an issue. I cannot open my camera.
No worries. It's completely understandable. Thank you for letting us know. All right. So we are going to be talking about, in this first section, the skills and project focused resume. Who here already has a resume? I see one hand.
Yeah, I have one.
You have one, Ines? Sadia, do you have a resume already? I see your hands up. Yes. Okay, perfect. So who feels super excited about your current resume? Are you like, this is the best thing I've ever put together?
No.
That's totally understandable. I totally get it. Well, hopefully we'll provide you some tips that we will get through.
Yeah. Maybe if you can touch base while you are talking, because I come from a completely different industry and I don't know how to put these things together in one basket.
Yes, hopefully this will help. And also, international resumes are different from American resumes. And so there can be some difference there. And I'll provide a little bit of guidance, but your Career Center is going to be able to provide some of that too. So, well, let's get started with some of the nuts and bolts of today's resumes. When was the last time some of you updated your resume?
I'm always changing it and applying.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear.
Mine was before the summer started.
Nice.
Yeah, mine was pretty much the exact same thing, where like just before summer started, I want to make sure I got all of my applications for internships good. So right about then.
Awesome. Perfect. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Sadia, I see you still have your hand up. Oh, there's 5 months ago when I had to submit for a project. So cool. We're pretty close to being super current, right? That's a good thing. Each resume that you submit to a job or internship or even a research opportunity should be made unique. You tailor each one to the job or application that you are filling out. So with that, a fact that some of you may or may not know, employers or recruiters will look at a resume for a total of how long? What do you think?
5 minutes.
I see 30 seconds.
20 seconds?
It's actually 3 to 10 seconds. Does that create any anxiety for folks? The reason that we have to talk about a skills and project-based resume is essentially you have to spoon feed the employer the information that they are asking for in the job or internship application or description, okay? It is the candidate's responsibility to hook the employer and keep them engaged to continue reading. You're going to use the job description as the guide for tailoring every single resume. And I want you to think, we talked about this earlier, you have to update your resume. Resumes should not be seen as a destination document. You do it once, you get a new job, you put that new job on there and you're done. They are evolving, living documents. They show our career journey, right? They are not that destination. They help to get us to the next stop on our career journey. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. So let's talk a little bit about some formatting, right? How many of you knew that there were 3 formatting styles to resumes? Probably not. I didn't know it until I started doing this as a job. So thank you for being in the chat, Sadia. I do appreciate it. Remy, help me keep up in case I miss it, okay? So, perfect. So resume formats, there's 3 different types: the chronological, the functional, and the combination. And you'll notice that those have underlines. This is some of that linkable content that you're going to get in the slide deck that I send to everyone, okay? So you'll be able to click through to the websites that actually show you what these look like. Chronological is just what it is. It is a chronological list going backwards in time of the jobs that you have held. To be quite honest, a chronological resume is one of the most boring documents I've ever seen in my life. It does not tell your story. It doesn't tell anything about you other than you've had jobs and they went backwards in time and you can hold down a job for a period of time. That's all it really says. Functional resumes are resumes that are a bit more narrative. They're going to be talking about who I am as a professional, or this is the career field I'm in. Here is a professional summary. Here's some skill sets, right? But it's going to be less focused on that chronological piece. The more common type is the combination resume, bringing that chronological and that functional piece together. It's narrative, but concise and brief, but it's also chronological and providing that insight into the types of jobs that you've held. Those three different types of resumes can have purposes out there for different systems or applications or any of those things. You'll notice that an application, if you're filling it out, is more chronological. Doesn't give you a chance to tell your story either. Kind of goes back to that chronological background. The reason I share this with you is because that about 10 years ago, if not a little bit more than that, maybe about 12 years ago, those 3 resume formats were it. That was really it. You didn't have to worry about, you put it in one of those formats and that was no big deal. Well, now we have what is called ATS. Have any of you heard about what an ATS is? ATS stands for Applicant Tracking System. And there are approximately 384 different types of application tracking systems that are being used in the United States today. And what that system is anytime you submit an application or a resume, a human doesn't read it. A computer is actually reading it. And they set those systems up to look for certain keywords. Now, there are certain folks out there that have said, well, I've figured out a way to work around all the ATS systems. Don't believe them. It's not true. They will say, okay, well, I need you to take the job description and I want you to copy and paste it and put it in a blank spot on your resume, put it super tiny font and make it all white. And nobody can see it except for the applicant tracking system. And it's going to ensure that your resume is picked up. Organizations have found out that that's what people are doing. So don't listen to folks that have the quick turnaround, right? If they're saying that they know how to work around it, don't believe them because they don't. The way to get around this is to use the job description to design the resume and your cover letter for the job that you're applying to. Another tip that I want to share with you, some of the resume formats. Anybody here using a resume template or format on the web, like in Word or Canva, any of those things? Yeah? Okay. I want you to double check where you got that template from, because not all of those templates are ATS friendly. And you may need to look at taking the content there and putting it in a text only document that then you can copy and paste into the ATS system. Now, how do you know if you're going to be, go ahead, Remy.
Oh, I just wanted to note that Sadia asked a question in the chat. How do we decide which type is best or to submit for a specific job?
I would say today, and with the ATS systems that we're talking about, the combination resume is going to be your best bet. And when you click through to that link, when I give you this slide deck, you're going to be able to see, oh, I bet you my resume is already in that format already. It's the most common type. And anybody that's asking for the chronological or the functional, it's usually something like a government type job. So if you're looking to apply to a federal job here in the United States, they're using more of that chronological only or functional only, because they're looking for very specific information. And I want to encourage you to work with your career center or a career counselor to make sure that that resume is on point for those systems, because they are so specific that if a period is out of space, it will not work. So you have to be really specific for those. Make sure you're working with a professional to make sure that you're getting it right. And you have those folks for free at your university. Don't pay $500 to have somebody write your resume, by the way. Don't do it. Don't do it.
If you do, hire Tony. No, just kidding. Hey, Tony, I have a quick question. And this might be an irrelevant question for the folks in the room here, but I remember back when I was in grad school, I ended up putting together a CV. And I think it was for like an NSF grant or something like that. But will you ever need, I mean, what's the difference between a CV and a resume, and do you use CVs to apply for a job? Like, I don't.
Yes. So typically a CV or a curriculum vitae, and that's VITAE, are used for academic or research-based jobs. And the reason vitas are used for those types of positions is they are lengthy. They can be up to 200 to 300 pages long, especially for faculty that have been in the field for 20, 30 years. It lists every publication, every presentation, every class that was taught, every syllabus in great detail with lots of narrative, right? They're only good for those types of things. The other piece would be like a grant that you're writing because it provides extensive searchable detail to those organizations. However, if you are applying to an organization, whether it be public, private, or government, and they say CV, they just mean resume, and they think CV is the fancy way of saying it. Just a little hint. We want your Vita. Oh, you think you're fancy. So they just want your resume. Yes, Brian. Wait,
So,
did I get your name right? Is it Brian?
Yeah.
Okay, thank goodness. Okay, names didn't pop up. I'm so sorry if I got it wrong. Okay, go ahead.
So like what you said earlier about for the formatting for like if I was applying for like a government agency or government type of jobs, would I be able to use like an ATS type of format as well, or?
I would definitely, one, find out the very specific instructions that are going to be on the application information for the job. So if they're asking you to apply through a system called usajobs.com, that is a federal government ATS system. Okay. That system looks for even certain number codes that are associated with skill sets, and your career center is going to have either resources there or people that you can work with to make sure that you get that right. Okay. It is very specific, and don't do it alone. Okay.
Okay.
It will increase your chances of having your resume seen. All right.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Of course. Of course. Did I get everybody's questions? Okay. So I want, you'll also see on this bullet where it says, try this resource to test your resume's ATS compatibility. There is a website called JobScan that will actually allow you to copy and paste the job description into one window and your resume into the other window, and you click scan, and it will actually tell you how compatible your resume is for the job description. Now, you can do that with, I think, 1 or 2 job descriptions for free, but then they ask for a subscription. So just know that I'm not advocating or advertising. I'm not associated in any way, but it is a great resource to kind of check it out and see how close you are to making sure that those keywords in the job description and skill sets are listed in your resume. Make sense? Cool. Let's see, where are we? Okay. Look, feel, and content. This is where we're going to see the most difference between domestic or American resumes and internationally based resumes. I used to do quite a bit of work with our Chinese students when I worked at the University of Colorado, Denver. We had a campus actually in Beijing, and Chinese resumes actually have the person's picture on them, as well as like a family bio, with names of family members that are connected to that organization and things like that. That does not happen here in the United States. Do not put your picture on your resume. If you have your picture on it, make sure you pull it off. And I'll get to some reasoning there in just a second. Well, actually, I'll just tell you now. Don't put your picture on your resume because of equity. We have laws in the United States that are based in anti-discrimination or anti-discrimination law. And if you have a picture on your resume, they could be making a judgment. We don't know if they will, but you wouldn't know either. And you don't want to give any organization a reason to weed you out of being a candidate for a position. So don't put your picture on a resume. Doesn't matter who you are or where you come from, just don't do it, because then it could possibly limit your opportunities, right? And some ATS systems will actually boot you out of the system anyway, just for having a graphic on there like that. Don't use graphics. Some people tell you, you've got to stand out, so your resume has to be pink with sparkles. No, it doesn't. Do not do it. I promise you, it does not help anything. It actually could get you booted out just because it's not memorable. It's just hard to read. And all they want is the content, right? So I would suggest, and you'll see on some of those links, the different types of graphics that we're talking about. It's okay to have a left-hand bar that maybe is like a grayscale, or if you're using like a light blue, having like a slightly darker blue kind of panel on the left side that calls out certain skill sets and things like that. I've seen that. It works for certain industries. Being in the sciences and engineering, I would stick to a very content-driven resume just to make sure that that's what's coming across and not the fact that it looked a certain way. Is that helpful?
And Tony, we have one new person who just joined us.
Good.
Luke, I think, is still trying to connect, but when he gets here, you might want to just do a quick intro.
Of course. Yeah, definitely. All righty. So what we won't be talking about today, and it's related to look, feel, and content, is LinkedIn profiles. How many of you have a LinkedIn profile? Hopefully everybody. Perfect. All right. I have clicked or created a clickable link to a resource from LinkedIn in developing LinkedIn profiles that are searchable. The cool thing about LinkedIn profiles is that they follow social media foundations where they have an algorithm that looks for specific keywords and things like that. So it's going to present certain information to you, but it also makes your resume searchable in a different way. And they also have a recruitment button that you can turn on and make your resume or your LinkedIn profile visible to LinkedIn recruiters and things like that. So I've provided a link there. Think of your LinkedIn profile a little bit differently from your resume, in that it can be more cumulative and have everything on it, and it's interactive, that you can click to research. You can look at specific jobs or organizations that you worked for. So just something to consider, and your Career Center is going to have more information for you there as well. Again, go
Luke
ahead.
just joined us. Luke, are you connected? Would you like to say hi and introduce yourself real quick? Not to put you on the spot. Maybe he's not.
I see him there.
That's okay. We'll come back.
All right.
Oh,
there he is.
Hello, Luke.
Oh, working on sound, I think. Hi, Luke.
Well,
All right.
feel free to go on, and we can come
Cool.
back and
We'll
put him on the
circle.
spot.
Perfect. So again, I want you to remember, focus on content, grammar, and your career story when it comes to your resume. Again, you want to spoon feed the employer or recruiter the information that they are looking for, and they've told you what they're looking for in the job description, okay? Let's see. Make sure I got all my questions out of the way. All right. Luke still, I don't, nope. All right, we'll go to the next slide. All right, so all of you are in higher education, whether it be undergraduate or graduate, and you are looking to transition to the world of work. So one thing that was really popular on resumes about tenure, how long resume should be in terms of pages. So there are different schools of thought on that. So some folks will say a one-page resume, it must be one page and that's it. I honestly, these days, would recommend that if you can fill 2 pages on your resume, 2 pages should be it. Don't go more than 2 pages for a resume. Now, there are different industries, like graphic design or digital design or English writing or law. Those are going to have much longer resumes just because of the content of the work. You in engineering and the sciences should be able to get everything you need on 2 pages. And there are going to be examples in these right here in front of us. The generalized example is a link that you'll be able to click through when you get the slide deck. Yeah, no problem. Okay, so about 10 or 12 years ago, we were seeing what were called objective statements on resumes. Anybody remember someone telling you to put an objective on your resume? Forget it, don't do it. They're no longer acceptable. Because if you think about an objective statement, you're basically saying to the employer, my objective is to have the job that you are offering. And it was 1 sentence to 2 that really didn't help anyone. They've been replaced now by professional summaries or profile sections on resumes. It's valuable real estate at the top of the document that you should be, again, spoon feeding that employer everything that they want to know in the order that they want to see it, which they've already told you on the job description.
How, Tony, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, you can talk. I will talk after you.
Oh, I was just going to ask, back in the day when I haven't updated my resume in like 10 years, so I'm horrible at this, right? We used to do that in a cover letter. Is that not still the way to do that? Because it sounds like that kind of profile or summary section would be very similar to what we used to write as a cover letter.
Yes, and a cover letter is actually an opportunity to even go into more detail about your story. And your Career Center is going to have some templates that you can use. I didn't go into it here because it's a little bit different conversation, because it allows you to describe skill sets and projects a little bit more in detail than what you can on your resume, because again, you're trying to make it 1 or 2 pages and being very concise. That cover letter is that opportunity to dig a little bit deeper about why, how you found the job, why are you interested in it, what are you passionate about, how are you making those connections? All of that fits very well into that type of document. Another thing that you might want to think about is at the top of your resume, right underneath that header, putting some keywords that showcase your skill sets and who you are as a soon-to-be professional or paraprofessional, right? So if you've taken the Myers-Briggs or Strengths Quest, any performance reviews you've had from current jobs that people said that very strategic thinker or innovative in problem solving, or any of those, you would put those keywords 3, maybe 4 across the top in bold that describe who you are. And there's a generalized example at the link here that I'm sharing that will, if that's something that you want to do and it matches what the job description is looking for, call that out, use that space to do it, and make sure that it's kind of highlighting what they're about to read, your thesis statement of the resume, if you will, right? So underneath all of that, skills sections and the job description. The section for skills, hi Luke, how are you? Can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Sorry, I was leaving class and I had to find a room to go into.
No worries at all. Why don't you, let's both pause here a second. Tell us who you are, what your major is, what campus you're at.
My name is Luke Fay. I'm a senior at James Madison, and I'm an integrated science and technology major. My professor for my capstone sent us the link for this and told us it would be a good resource to look into. So that's why I'm here. So yeah.
Perfect. Glad you're here. If you have any questions whatsoever, put them in the chat or just interrupt me. Let me know. Happy to entertain that. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
We're talking about resumes right now, and we're getting into the skills section. You'll notice that these are clickable links. You're going to get a PDF of this slide deck, which will be interactive, so you can dig deeper into this after we have this conversation today, okay?
And before you get started, Tony, Ines, did you have a question?
Yes, sorry.
Yes, on the Career Center from my school, thinks that there is no need for any objective or profile thing at the top. We just need to start with an education. Is that good or bad?
So yeah, no objective statements. They're no longer acceptable, but I would slightly disagree with them about the profile section or the skills section. But here's another piece of information. Your resume is your document, and you should get it in front of a ton of people, have a lot of eyes on it. And eventually if you've done any research, when you start to do a bibliography, you start to see the same information over and over again. Mm-hmm. Once you've reached that point, your resume should be in a good spot, right? Tell your story and make sure that it fits what you're wanting to showcase to an employer to an extent, all right? So if you are taking your resume to the Career Center and they critique it and they say, no, get rid of this section, take that with a grain of salt, talk to some other people, get second opinions, but definitely consider either a profile or a summary or skills summary section at the beginning. Your education, because you are in school, should be one of the first things at the top of your resume.
Yeah, I would think a profile would be nice if I used to hire people in the old days. I would like to quickly know what they do. So I
Yeah,
think a profile is good. Does the cover letter go through the ATS or it's only the resume?
only the resume. I haven't heard of any companies that are having cover letters go through that process too.
Okay.
Yep. You'll see a generalized example at that link, and then also examples of what some skills sections can look like specific to engineering programs. So if that's helpful, I hope you'll take a look at it. The most common need to overcome for student resumes at the undergraduate and the graduate level is, instead of listing job tasks under each job, so let's say you did an internship at a laboratory, many students will start out by just taking the job description and all the job tasks that they were responsible for in a bulleted list underneath there. That doesn't necessarily get across to the employer that you're trying to hook, that they want you as the candidate in making the connection to skill sets. And so one of the examples I've put here is, instead of that bulleted list, I'll come back to that, Sadia, in just a second. Instead of that bulleted list that reflects on what you did at a job, think of the skill sets those tasks help you to develop. So a simple example here. So one job task that could be listed would be answered phones, managed a general email inbox, and directed initial customer inquiries. That then, if you're trying to talk about skill sets, becomes demonstrated excellence in excellence in verbal and written communication skills, initiated customer experience while collaborating with subsequent sales team pathways. Do you see how that wordsmithing, instead of looking as like a job task, it's talking about communication skills, initiating tasks, it's talking about collaboration and teamwork, all in a, do you see how that translation worked? So at some of these links, you're going to see other examples for that as well. And Sadia asked a question, can you please explain what things to include in a profile section? Yes. When you click through to some of these examples, you're going to be able to see those examples. I can't multiple share at the same time, so I won't be able to do that here, but these are clickable and you will be able to see what those examples look like with some specific narrative that you can take a look at and what relates most to you. Your Career Center is also going to have some sample resumes that'll have those examples for you as well. All right. So when we were talking about the skills and the projects, these two links here are going to give you lists of action verbs, keywords, and skill sets based on specific skills that an employer is asking for. So if it's leadership or management or communication, it's going to give you those action verbs that you can start each one of those bulleted lists with to get you started. And many of you probably already have some of these on your resume. And this will give you those examples from two very different career sites. Your Career Center is also going to have lists like this as well. And they also will offer you a resume critiquing service for free. You can send your resume to them. They'll give a critique, give you some information so that you can update your resume and make corrections. Questions that you may have.
I know that these are clickable links, but can you give us some examples of some of these powerful verbs? I'm just curious.
Yeah, let me try and click through here really quick. Let me see if I screw up the screen here. All right, let me adjust my screen sharing here to a different one. All right, this is from Indeed.com. Can everyone see that? The 195 action verbs article?
Yep.
Cool. There is actually a video here as well, which is really helpful. It also talks a little bit about resume formatting, but what are action verbs? And then it starts to showcase those for you. So action verbs to showcase accomplishments. Discerned, drove, enacted, endeavored, right? Action verbs to explain responsibilities. coordinated, delivered, developed. Let's see. There was one specific to engineering, but here's leadership and management. All of these are related to if you've done any sort of leadership, or if you're finding yourself repeating, I managed this, I managed that, come to this list and see if you can find something that's synonymous to that, that would be a good fit. Technical experience, advanced, architected, that's a weird word, automated, coded, deployed, detected. This gives you examples of what that might look like, right? They have another video here as well. Let me see if I can click through to this next one. Here's another list that might describe it in a different way. No, we don't want to jumpstart our job search. Action verbs 1 through 12, you led a project. Here's what you would use. You envisioned and brought a project to life. They give you, it's just a different way of looking at the same thing. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, no, that's great. I like the examples. Thank you.
Cool. Let me go and I will pull up this generalized example. So now that I know I can do this, Sadia, here's an example of a professional summary or profile summary. This about me section, it's just called something different and it gives you an example. Is that helpful? How many of you are using something like this on your resume already? Not yet? Cool. I would suggest it. It does give some folks an insight into who you are. 2, 3, 4 sentences max in that section. All right, and then skills sections. I wanted to show you real time what employers are asking for and where you need to look on the job description for these skill sets. In the job description, aside from responsibilities, you may find some in there, development, performing simulations, collecting and processing data. But here it's going to tell you what they're looking for. I'll come back to that in a second. In terms of required knowledge and skills and experience, they're laying it out for you what they want to see, right? But if you look at skills and knowledge right here, handling and performing engineering analysis. So that's data driven. You could go back to one of those lists and look for data or research specific keywords to begin some of those tasks that you had done at a previous job or internship. This is clickable for you as well in the presentation. Let me go back to the presentation. There we go. All right, and Sadia, you asked a question, are there any general skills other than job specific, which one should include or highly valuable to employers? In your career field, yes. You might want to consider making sure that you have a technical skills section on your resume, specific software applications that you're using, specific, I don't know, hardware that you're working with within a particular part of renewable energy. Does it have to do with photovoltaics? Are you working with certain turbines? Any of that. You're going to want to put that in the technical skills section. There are examples on some of these links. Yeah, no problem. All right. Higher education is the world of work. Education, yes. Back to Enos, you were talking about having your education at the top of the resume.
Yes.
Yes. So people like Remy and I, who have worked for several years, education gets bumped down, right? We put education down towards the bottom of the resume because it's more about the skills and the work experience that we have. And if they're looking for a master's level or a PhD or something like that, they're going to find that in the application. They probably have a supplemental question that's going to weed people out that don't have that. So for us, the education is a bit further down because we're a bit farther away from it in our career than you are. You're in it right now. And also focus on it. You've had a chance to truly go through some cool classes, some projects, some internships. Show that and make sure that it reflects that important milestone to an employer. You might also consider having a relevant coursework and projects section on your resume. You don't want to just list the courses or projects. Be sure to provide a slight bit of context to them. So 1 or 2 sentences using skill-based language to describe each of those to the employer in that section.
Yeah, due to the space limit, I'm adding some of this in my cover letter.
Good, perfect, because they're going to want to see it. But again, use that skills-based language. So what the job description says, if they're looking for someone that has that data analysis experience and you've done that kind of project, be sure to use similar language in the cover letter or your resume if you put it on there, so that they're going to make that connection immediately. Okay.
My biggest problem now is that I'm trying to apply for these clean energy jobs. Do I still put my oil and gas experience, because I've learned a lot of skills during that time, but it does not match. It doesn't make sense for them when they see that. They think that as if I don't fit, but that's my bulk of experience. So shall I just sum it up as one line, or still detail it? Or I'm so much confused about that.
What you want to focus on there is transferable skills. And you'd be surprised when you look at the energy equity work that's happening across oil and gas, fossil fuels to clean energy. There are employers on the clean energy side that realize that there are people from oil and gas and fossil fuel industries that are looking to come over to the more modern way of looking at things in terms of clean energy. So think about it in terms of transferable skills. Data is data. Doesn't matter whether it was fossil fuel data or clean energy data. You've worked with data. You can analyze data. Make sure that you're showcasing that.
So this is how I phrase it. I just put it as a line, and then I list all the transferable skills, or
Yep.
I still tell my story within the oil and gas, because I think it's meaningless to the I think it's meaningless. The details in that is meaningless to the, for example, a solar company or any other company.
Yeah. So I would actually look at, instead of under oil and gas company skill sets that you gained there, actually take those skill sets, move them up to the skills and profile summary at the top of the resume, minimize that underneath. They don't care where you attained the skill. They just want to see that you have it. So make sure that you present that to them first.
Do I put a line, for example, I worked for Weatherford. Do I need to list Weatherford in my chronological list?
I would make sure that you do list the employer in your chronological list, but minimize the details underneath, and showcase the skill sets at the top of the resume.
In my profile. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I've put some sample resumes for inspiration. I want you to click through to those when you get the slide deck. They're divided by industry. So you have engineering, you have design, you have all different types of resumes that you can take a look at. But also check with your career center. They're going to have resume guides that are major specific, and they'll be able to, again, do that resume critique for you.
And just note, Sadia asked how important it is to mention your GPA.
Thank you. I saw it and then forgot. Sorry, Sadia. Okay, so I'm going to own my own stuff here. I'm not a big fan of GPAs on a resume. An employer, honestly, unless they're academically connected in some way and quite frankly, old school, I think that's when they're going to ask for a resume, or excuse me, a GPA. But I think you want to engage your career center and ask them for the particular company that you're applying to. Honestly, a GPA is something that's used within education, and it's kind of meaningless in the world of work. You are working hard. It is helping to dictate things in terms of financial aid and, you know, some other stuff, but it doesn't translate well to the world of work. And many schools have different scales that they're working from, with weighted GPAs and non-weighted GPAs and all this other stuff. What does it actually mean? And an employer, all they care about is the skills. Do you have them? And what are you bringing?
Is it of any value to add your transcript to your application? At least like for in my course, there are so many acquired skills because there are so many courses within that. So maybe that's of a value. What do you think?
Some companies will ask for it. Others, you may not have an opportunity to upload that into the online system, but if it gives you an option and they don't limit you to the number of documents you can upload, heck yeah, put it on there. Why not? If you're proud of it, put it out there. Other questions? The next section is talking about developing an elevator pitch. So we will be leaving this section. Anything else that I can help with here? Luke, do you have a resume?
Yes, I do. I made one for applying to summer internships.
Okay, are you super excited about it? Do you love it?
Seeing the last one, it made me realize it's a little dry. Like it's kind of just like a list of things, but yeah.
Okay, well,
I think it's
when you get this, yeah, when you get this slide deck, I hope that some of these clickable links will help you with spicing it up a little bit, making it something you can be proud of, but also use your Career Center. And what I was telling folks is at the end of this presentation is a live link that'll take you back to JMU's Career Center link so you can start working with them, okay? Perfect. All right. So we are going to talk about developing your 30-second elevator pitch. How many of you have got something like this already? Kind of, sort of?
No.
No?
Maybe some context into why you need a 30-second elevator pitch.
Exactly. We are getting to it. And believe me, I want to let you know, it is an elevator pitch, and I recognize this is an escalator, but this is the only animation that showed that we could call them a 30-second escalator pitch for this, but I thought it was a cool animation, so here we are. All right, so what is it and why? Okay, so when attending career events or conferences, or you happen to be crossing paths with someone that you has just spoken in a class and you only have a few seconds, you're going to want a concise way of saying, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, and why I'm interested in connecting with you. And you have to, if you're at a career event or at a conference, you have to understand that these people that you're going to walk up to their table, they're seeing hundreds, if not more, people in very quick succession. So to have a statement that allows you to, it's practiced and you're able to get it out and start talking about yourself and break the ice is hugely important. We just did a, just to give you some advice, not some advice, an example, with this organization I'm working with, we just did a partnership with United Airlines. We did a career fair here in Denver that was on site in Broncos Stadium. We had more than 800 people show up to that event. Can you imagine being a recruiter and talking to 800 people? That's got to be pretty quick. You've got to have something down and you want to be memorable, right? You want to be able to drop off your resume for them to make a quick note, because many of these recruiters, they actually will say, hey, talk to Brian, and he is a blah, blah, blah engineer and wants to do this. They're going to make a couple of quick notes on a Post-it on the resume so that they can remember it later, right? You want to have that concisely. You want to have that down concisely, and it makes you the one candidate or one of those candidates they should consider to coming back to later, okay? Why else is developing an elevator pitch important? Anybody? It brings you to life. It actually, it's more than just something on paper. It puts a face and a voice to your name. Those skill sets are important, but without your enthusiasm in front of them, without that I'm passionate about this work in front of them, they're not going to be able to make those connections. Okay. You want to have your resume with you. You want to have like a quick business card that you've come up with, so you can leave them something that they're able to attach that memory, that experience to that elevator pitch. Okay.
And just on that note, Tony, just the reality of the Solar Power International Smart Energy Week conference that you are hopefully going to be attending, you know, cross your fingers, Hurricane Ida, you know, all that good stuff. But the reality is that these people are there to make business deals. They're not there. They're not HR people. They're not there to recruit. This is not why they're there. So having your resume ready is helpful, but when you're on that exhibit floor, networking and using that elevator pitch, they don't want your resume. They're going to say, go online to the, you know, the portal and send it in. But having a business card or a little something that reminds them of you is going to be super important, along with that elevator pitch. And then Tony, I was going to ask you this, and it can wait till the end, but in the world of job career seeking these days with the ATS and, you know, everything's done online, how do you get the human element? How do you follow up? Because back, you know, in the day, you used to, you know, the squeaky wheel, right? You would always call, and then that moves your resume to the top of the pile. There's no pile anymore. How does that work?
Yeah. And so where the elevator pitch is one, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it in the informational interview section coming up here in a second. But I want to encourage each of you to make your job search human. Because if you get into that loop of just clicking apply online, to give you a bit of clarity and reality here, in April of 2021, more than 4 million people left their jobs. COVID has had people rethink their careers. It's made them breathe. Why am I doing what I'm doing? I want to do something else. This is the perfect time to transition to another industry. Competition is high, right? And so many people, recruiters are saying that they're getting 3,000 to 4,000 applicants for some jobs that used to maybe get 100 to 200. So how do you make it human? How do you talk to that person? That follow-up is important. If you're on LinkedIn and you found a job that you like and it says posted by so-and-so, go ahead and apply, but send them a message, send them an email. Use that 30-second elevator pitch as the beginning of a LinkedIn mail to that person to make you real to them. You're not just going to be another number. You might not hear back from them, but you might. And if you can go to a thing like SPI, or you can reach out to someone and do an informational interview, which we'll get to in a second, using your elevator pitch as part of the conversation, that's making the job search human. And that's going to make the difference for you. I was one of those people, by the way, in June, when they started to change some things at NREL, I said, you know what, I'm going to transition. I'm going to start doing some of the DE&I stuff. I'm going to reach out to some of my contacts. And that's how I found this other position. And it was through networking, not application, that I found that. Is that helpful?
Yes, and just know there are going to be networking opportunities specifically for you all as young professionals at SPI. So you're going to be able to test your elevator pitch and your informal interviewing skills when you're there.
So just to be clear, the elevator pitch is like some words that I say or sentences that I say that bring the attention, or can I have a small note that I can?
Of course. Yes, you can write it down, and we're going to practice. We're actually going to do it here in just a second. So we'll give you some examples to work with. But for that 30-second elevator pitch, it creates anxiety just by saying, oh, it has to be exactly 30 seconds. No, that's just to make sure that you understand this has to be concise and it has to be brief. So let's practice a little bit. Let's talk about what the structure of what this looks like. So what's the formula to an elevator pitch? imagine yourself walking up to a table with a recruiter or a vendor, if you will, at SPI, and you need to give them your elevator pitch. What's the formula? That formula is going to be, first, start simply. What is your preferred first and last name? Hi, my name is. Then you're going to move into describing what you do currently. I'm a student at, I'm an intern at, or completing a project with, that kind of thing. And then segue immediately into a statement around explaining what you want. I understand you have an internship available. I saw an apprenticeship that your organization just posted on the federal apprenticeship site. The job that you have posted, I might not be there just yet. I was wondering if you had somebody I could talk to because that's my dream job and I want to know how to get there. Would you be able to connect me to them? I'm looking for a research opportunity and I really would like to be in this area. Can you connect me to someone? Those kinds of statements. And then you want to finish with next steps that you hope to have happen in the future. So a future meeting, I'd love to meet with you, or do you have a chance to help me with some guidance for an opportunity application, whether it be an internship or a job? Or I saw you speak earlier. I'm looking for a mentor. I would really like to see if we would be a good fit for a mentorship opportunity. Or could I get your business card so I could call you next week and see if we could do an informational interview? That's it. That's a 30-second elevator pitch. Does that make sense? What questions or anxiety did I just create for you?
No, that's great. And the other thing that I throw in there sometimes, and this is just, I don't know why that but especially if there's a particular company, you know, I usually try to compliment them, like, oh, that research project that you're doing is so fantastic, you know, or that new product that you have, or that new wind farm you built and da 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 da. You know, I don't know. I always try to bring light to something, accomplishment that they've done or something to kind of break the ice a little before I ask, you know, my request or my favor. So
Yes,
something to throw in there potentially. I'm not sure. Maybe grease the wheel a little bit. I don't know.
Okay, yes, perfect. That's perfect. Again, you're bringing it to life. You're making a connection between you and them and their work. All right, make it human. Okay. All right. So I'm not going to go to the next slide, but well, I'll go to the next slide, just show you what we're doing. We are going to do an elevator pitch jigsaw exercise. So if everyone could take yourself off mute and get ready, because each person is going to take part in creating an elevator pitch. Okay. So you're each going to have one of these parts. I'm going to pick somebody at random to start. And then I want you, let's say I pick the first person and I say, okay, you're going to do the name, your preferred name. You start with your name and then you pick the next person. Is that going to be Sadia? Is it Inas? Is it going to be Brian or Tyler? You just say who the next person is for the next part. They say it, and then that person picks the next person. Does that make sense?
Yes, just know that Brian and Tyler had technical issues and they haven't gotten back on yet.
Okay. Well, we will just get started with just us here. So we will go ahead and use Remy and I as part of this.
Just a minute. Just give me a minute.
Yeah.
1 minute. Okay. She needed a minute.
I had a question about the last slide. So you had like describe what you do currently.
Yeah.
And it had like student, intern, and project, but like I could talk for 30 seconds about like my major and my internship and like my capstone. So like how would I
use who you're talking to or the opportunity that you're hoping to connect with or what you're hoping to learn as a way of prioritizing what's most important. Again, don't feel that you have to limit it to just 30 seconds. If you can keep it brief and not talk, because there are some topics I could talk for an hour on and that would just put the person to sleep, right? If the idea is to break the ice and get a conversation going between you and that person. So feel free to prioritize those things and talk about all of them if you want, but keep it brief. Is that helpful?
Yeah, so kind of just tell them like what you think they might want to hear the most about you.
Yeah, and I think I agree with Tony. Luke, maybe, if you're at SPI and you're, with a company that you could really see yourself getting a job in, maybe you want to highlight more of, the CWC stuff, and talk more about that if you're, working on that or a particular course. I'm a student in ISAT and I just took this great course and it really taught me something and I'm really inspired to get into this job, so I think, like Tony said, whoever you're talking to might inspire you to know which particular topic to highlight. Awesome. Shall we try this?
Yeah, let's give it a shot. Luke, do you want to get us started with the first one with your name and then choose who you'd like to do the next piece?
You say me?
Yep. Yeah, just jump right in.
Hello, my name is Luke Fay, and
Yeah, you
That's it.
All right,
Remy, how about you describe what you currently do?
Yeah, I am the executive director of this amazing national nonprofit that supports renewable energy education.
Okay. Inas, are you able to tell us what you are wanting from this person? Just be hypothetical, if you will.
Since I am an intern doing market analysis, I would like to check opportunities in a similar position in your research group.
Perfect. And then Sadia, can you finish off with some next steps, what you would hope to have happen?
And you can put it in the chat if that's easier for you, Sadia.
Yeah.
You're still here.
Nope, must not be there.
Tony, you're going to have to finish it up.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to sending you an email to possibly set up a meeting for next week. Can I have your business card? We essentially just between us created a 30-second elevator pitch that relates to all of us in the room. So does anyone want to share what their elevator pitch would be?
I'm happy to.
Please, yes.
I'm still working on it. It's always like, this is the first event that I've been to, potentially going to go to in a long time. So my name's Remy Pangel, and I am the executive director of Repairing Schools, which is a nonprofit that supports renewable energy education. And it's fantastic to meet you. I am so excited about the work that your company is doing in diversity, and we would love to find an opportunity to collaborate with you. Is there a time that I could give you a call?
Perfect. Perfect. Inas or Sadia, Luke, anybody want to share? Okay. Yeah.
Shall I do it now?
Go right ahead,
Sure.
please. We'd love to hear it.
Shall it be addressed to you, or just I hypothetically think that I'm talking to what I aim for?
Address it to me. It's totally fine.
Okay, so my name is Inas Ahmed. I'm a master degree student, plus I'm doing a summer internship in market analysis, and would like to know how you can help me compile my resume to get a similar job at, say, Wood Mackenzie.
Perfect. Now, are you hoping to set a meeting with me maybe next week or the week after?
Yes. May I call you next week? And when would be the perfect time to do that?
That's awesome. Let me give you my business card right here. If you have your resume, let's switch those, and just feel free to email me and we'll get something set up. Okay. Nice to meet you.
Okay. Okay. Great.
Perfect. Oh
Good
my God.
job.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yes. And they're going to change. They're going to evolve with the people that you're talking to. Okay. And make a note, and when I've had career events, I would often take some of our students or our alumni around to meet certain employers to do introductions. And Remy was talking about the mentorship piece. That's probably going to be an option for you at the conference, either in person or virtual. there's probably going to be an option to do something like that, but be sure you have that 30-second elevator pitch and some options to tweak it a little bit by the person or the company that you're talking to. Okay.
Okay. How do you go around the race issues and the predefined, sometimes I feel that some employers have like a predefined opinion before they even know you or they speak to you. They just have a specific image for what they want. So how do you overcome that in your pitch?
So there are some things we can control and some things we can't. However, a well-defined elevator pitch and a interaction that is professional breaks some of those walls down. And I want to encourage you to not let what their predefined idea of who they want for this position to discourage you in any way. Because if you can walk up, make eye contact with them, give that elevator pitch, and show that you're interested and passionate about the industry and that connecting with them is really important, I 95% of the time can guarantee that you are going to break those walls down, and they're going to be like, I need to get in touch with Enos. I got to remember this person's name. Here's my business card. And whether it's that you're going to get that job, you've created a network contact for yourself. So when we get into the informational interviews here in a second, I want you to keep in mind that this is about relationship development. And that relationship development process may not create the fruit that you need right now, but it may in 2 years. Remember when we met at SPI in 2021, virtually or in person, who knows? When we were talking, I don't know if you remember me, but since then I've done XYZ project, and I'd love to do an informational interview with you and catch you up on what I've been doing. Can I be a resource for you? Or I saw that you had that job posted. I'd really like to kind of see what you're looking at now. Does that make sense?
Yes, I have a question. Usually in these applications, they ask you personal information about your race, your disability, and all this stuff. When it comes to race, is it preferable I say my race, or is it preferable that I say that I don't wish to answer this question just to make it as vague as possible?
Yeah, I want to encourage you to do what you are most comfortable with. However, when we're talking about career and bringing our full authentic selves to the workspace, I want you to think about it as identity and how your authentic identity is important to an organization's overall bottom line. You are actually bringing betterment to an institution just by who you are and the identities that you represent. And those questions that they're asking, they're anti-discrimination statements that are going to go to HR and not necessarily going to the search committee or the hiring manager. They're going to go different directions. So one, you do what you are most comfortable with, but two, know that the purpose of that question or those questions go to two separate people for very different reasons. Does that help?
Yeah. It's helpful that the real person hiring you does not look at your race or whatever these questions. That's encouraging. Thank you for that info.
Definitely. If you ever are in an application process that you feel that something uncomfortable happened, or that you feel that there was discrimination or anything like that, you need to be sure to let that HR person know, work with your career center as well and let them know, because then you can have advocacy on making sure that that gets resolved, because it's not okay, it's not right, and you deserve someone to advocate for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right. when I get this slide deck to you, this actually is a resource on how to give elevator pitch and some specific examples that you can click through and take a look at that may inspire you to edit some of the things that you are working with. This section is about, again, making the job search human through informational interviewing and growing your network. So how many of you, which we have diminished in size a bit, doesn't look like Brian and Tyler came back. So hopefully we can send this to them and they can ask us questions later. Did they come? And I'm not seeing it, Remy, are they in the room? No, they're not in the room. Okay, got it. I just want to make sure I'm asking all the right people if they have questions and not forgetting someone in the chat. All right, so who knows what an informational interview is? Anyone done one? I guess that would be a better question.
I figure
I just-
anytime I'm in a networking event, it's informal interviews, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, Ines.
I just did an interview now before I joined you.
Oh, good.
So I'm not 100% sure what this informational interview is.
Yeah, okay. So an informational interview is not going to have an end expectation. So you don't do an informational interview with the expectation that you're going to get a job or an internship from it. The idea here is to build a relationship and network contact and learn a bit more about how you can improve when you do have an interview or as you're applying to a position or even finding a mentor. So again, you shouldn't have that expectation of getting a job or an internship. However, more often than not, I find that people that do them, they get connected with an opportunity pretty quickly. It should be viewed as an opportunity to learn, grow your network, and find potential mentors. And they can have a job or internship lead come from them. Or can they lead to that? Yes, they can. But if you focus only on that, the person you interview will feel it. So you could damage a potentially beneficial new network connection. So an informational interview, we're going to talk a little bit about how to set those up and how to conduct them. The idea here is to make the job search human again. So if you are thinking about a particular company within a particular industry and participants can now see your application. Oh, sorry, Sadia just joined. So you want to find out about a particular job and you find someone at a company that you want to do an informational interview with to find out a bit more about the application process or what that might look like on their end. You can reach out to them and say, hey, can I buy you a cup of coffee? Or can I have 30 minutes of your time to ask you a few questions because I'm really interested in this particular job title and I think you could help me understand it a bit better. Or I'm looking for an internship and I was wondering if I could get some advice from you about that process. Not necessarily that they are going to give you that opportunity, but that they could give you some advice about applying to it and preparing your materials. So first you want to look for folks. You can start with professors, mentors, even LinkedIn connections who are working in the industry or job you're interested in. Just to give you an example, for a long time, I've been really interested in the role of chief learning officer within private corporations. There are some corporations that have actually created their own internal universities for training and development. I was really interested in that role. So I went on LinkedIn and I just searched for that job title. And I found like 10 people that I wanted to reach out to. And I put together a template email and I copy and pasted it into a LinkedIn message to them and said, this is what I'm interested in. Would love to learn more about the industry and what you're doing, how you got to where you are. And can I have 30 minutes of your time? About 80%, so about 8 people got back with me and said they were interested in speaking with me. And so I said, great, let's set up a time. I had 8 informational interviews. I did an hour with some and 30 minutes with others, depending on what their schedule allowed. And I put together a list of questions, which You'll see here, I've got an email request template linked here, and then also a list of potential questions. And there's some additional resources that I'm going to provide you as well. But these are open-ended questions. And I wanted to know, what was your career plan in college? Did you expect to be a chief learning officer somewhere? Absolutely not. Just to give you a little bit of insight, most people in the jobs that they have did not dream of that job when they were in kindergarten. They wanted to be a police person, a fire person, a doctor, or a lawyer. They did not expect to be like Remy, the executive director of Repowering Schools. But it is a dream job, right, Remy? So you want to ask them questions like that. How did they get there? Because you're going to learn information about the path that got them to where they are. Many of them, you're going to find that instead of being a straight line from A to B, it was kind of like all over the place, and then they're where they are and they're completely happy. Or maybe they're like, I'm not where I want to be yet, and this is why, and this is where I'm going and how I'm going to get there. Another open-ended question would be, what jobs created the most challenging growth for you? Or how does your education and career path continue to evolve? And then also ask them to describe things for you. So tell about your definition of success in whatever industry. What you're doing is you're asking them to tell you about their journey. So one, you can learn, but also so you can create a relationship with this person, that it's not just a connection on LinkedIn. This is a person that you know you can reach out to with questions when you do get a job that is challenging or whatever, or when an opportunity comes up. They're going to call you because they know who you are as well. I want you to, when you're thinking about an informational interview, think about the time you have with the interviewee, right? I told you earlier, I did hour interviews with some folks and 30 minutes with others. 3 to 5 questions that are open-ended and allowing for conversation, that's about 30 minutes for 20 to 30 minutes of an interview. 6 to 10 questions, 40 to 60 minutes, depending on how quickly you can get through those. Be cognizant of the time that they've provided you, because that essentially is a gift. They're busy people, so you have to be appreciative of that. Remember to ask if they have any connections that you could be introduced to or connect to do a similar type of interview. Or most likely what's going to come up is, you know what, I know Carol, she's just listed 2 jobs in that area. Let me do an introduction for you. Or I know that XYZ company was creating an internship program last year. This may be a connection that could be valuable to you. Let me do an introduction for you. If they don't make that offer, you can ask it as well. Would you mind introducing me to so-and-so? That sounds really interesting. Be prepared with answers to your questions that you're asking them, because it's a conversation and they may ask the same thing of you. Can you imagine if you said, tell me about this job and what challenges it presented to you? And they ask you the same question and you say, I don't know. Be prepared to answer the same questions you're asking of them. See where the conversation goes, and be okay with not getting through all of your questions, because you may actually be creating a really cool mentorship with this person. You could even be creating a lifelong lifelong mentorship, but also a potential relationship that could pay off down the road. And always send a thank you email. Don't forget that. What questions do you have about informational interviews? Anyone know who you'd want to interview already?
I've always been trying to get these like market research jobs with some companies that do studies, but I don't know whether they these type of research bodies or non-profit, maybe Remy can talk about. There are some nice non-profit companies that perform studies for the government, and I'm very interested in these type of jobs, but I don't know what's wrong, why I don't know, I cannot count how many times I applied and I got a regret letter. So I really don't know what's the problem. Is it the C, do I need to put a CV or a resume for these? Are these more like the academic thing, or, and do you think I should attempt these informational interviews through LinkedIn with them?
Yes, this is the perfect opportunity to answer those questions that you're asking right now, whether it be Remy or a mentor you're matched up with or someone you meet at SPI. This is the perfect opportunity to ask those exact questions that you're asking right now to those people so that you can understand better about the application process. You can ask that question, do you prefer a CV or do you want just a resume? I've been applying and here are some skill sets I think are a fit, but I'm just curious how I can make myself a better candidate for this type of position.
Yeah, maybe it's a question for you since you are living in Colorado, and there's this company called RMI. Maybe you heard about them, and I really find their scope really fascinating. If you know anything about them, maybe you can tell me a little bit about how they hire their people.
I don't know about RMI. Do you know, Remy?
I don't. My big suggestion, Ines, is that there is this amazing organization called the Women of Renewable Industries and Sustainable Energy, or RISE. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them.
No.
So they have, when you become a member, there's a member database, I guess is what you would call it. And it's set up because some of them are, they run a mentoring program.
Mm.
And, if you're looking for a mentor, you can search through the database on certain keywords and find people who are in an industry that you're interested in. And so it might be something that, and they have a pretty large member database that you could go through the database and find folks in the market research area, and maybe not necessarily ask them to be a mentor, but at least ask them if they would be willing to talk to you about your career pathway and the best way to make your way into that industry. The one thing that I did hear a long time ago about mentoring that always stuck with me is that mentoring should be a constellation and not a star. So you should have many mentors. So just having one mentor only gives you one point of view on how to get into your industry. And so you should surround yourself with amazing people who can mentor you from different angles. So I would almost see that like these informational interviews as kind of you're building your constellation to kind of help guide you. But anyway, I don't know if that's helpful, but I can continue to help you connect with those industries. I just, not off the top of my head, do I know anything.
I'd also suggest going to LinkedIn and looking up RMI's company page, and they will have some tabs there that'll be people, jobs, company, information like that. Look up a few people that are doing jobs that you're interested in at that organization and message them on LinkedIn and see if they'd be open to doing an informational interview, and just ask them about, or just let them know, I'm really interested in RMI and I just wanted to learn more. And I would love to be doing something like what you're doing one day. Here are some questions I have for you. Would you be open to talking with me?
Yeah, it's good that you told us about this, because I thought that just connecting with people haphazardly might not be a right thing to do. But if that's a common practice and acceptable, then I will give it a try.
Yeah, and it's always easier to have a warm introduction. And so informational interviews can give you that base of people to work from. So that it can be helpful. Does anybody feel like, anybody feel like sharing their biggest fear or something they're excited about conducting an informational interview?
I think there is no harm in doing that. The worst thing is you will just not get a reply, but.
Yeah, and you know what, it happens, right? And I've experienced it. And like I said, 80% of the folks I reached out to actually responded, and I got to do 8 interviews, and it was really interesting. So you never know, right? So give it a shot. Okay, so let's move to, this is another resource that I wanted to provide to you that you can click through later. There's 2 separate organizations, slightly different takes on informational interviewing, not much, but at least it's 2 resources you can compare. All right. Job search, interview preparation, and connecting with your career and internship centers. I want you all to remember something. You are not alone in the job search process. It can feel very isolating, especially in the 21st century, where everything is click here and easy apply here and submit your resume this way. I want to encourage you to use the informational interviewing experience. I want you to use in-person or even virtual career events and conferences so you can talk to people, you can ask questions, you can make it real, make it human. Because otherwise, you're just sending things into the ether, and there are thousands of people, millions of people looking for jobs right now, and that can feel very discouraging, okay? Your campus career center and internship centers have highly educated and trained career counselors offering vital resources to your success. These are some of the resources that they're offering, but there's even more. They offer practice interviews. They offer career counseling if you start to feel like you're a little stuck in a particular industry and want to know how to transition to something else. There are folks that are trained to do just this work, okay? Also, when you graduate, many career centers and internship centers allow you to come back, whether for free or even for a small fee as an alumni. So again, you are not alone in this experience. Do not do this by yourself, okay? Remy, anything else to add there?
No, I agree 100%. And you know, your like Tony said earlier, your career center is a great place to start. But again, getting many second opinions, your faculty members that you work closely with at the universities are always good people to give that, you know, second set of eyes if you're looking for other people that might be helpful to look at those. So, yeah.
Okay, this is that slide I was telling you all about earlier. These are live links to the career centers at each of these universities. You will see your university listed there. All you have to do is click that link. It's going to take you directly to their career center page. The majority of these institutions are using a vendor called Handshake as their job and internship database. Highly recommend that system. It also connects you nationally. Some institutions have chosen to take part in a consortium of job and internship postings. So an employer can post once to all these different institutions. So you're going to be able to see jobs and internships that are tailored specifically for you, and they've been approved by your institution. I want to give you a heads up though, some of these different career centers are what are called decentralized centers. The larger institutions, that means that if it's a college of engineering, they're going to have their own career advisor. So you may have to do a few more clicks from the initial career center page to find your specific resources. If you get lost or you need any advice, please let Remy or I know, or Remy can let me know that you have questions, and I'm happy to do a little bit of guidance for you to get you to the right place. So what's next is that you have SPI coming up. And this is going to be a career event for you, but not a career event for the people that are going there, right? It's a unique situation. So I've provided a couple of resources. They're in the vein of basically how to work a career event, right? So how are you going to work the room? This gives you some advice on how to do that. Work with a mentor, work through Remy, find that person that's going to maybe do 1 or 2 introductions to help you with your nerves. You're going to be nervous about meeting some of these people. Go in and I would say shake hands, but we don't really do that anymore. So go do some elbow bumps or fist bumps and say, hey, how are you? And really take advantage of what Remy is offering here. Mentors, like she said, are a constellation, not an individual star. You need many viewpoints, many eyes on your resume, many eyes on your experience and your journey to make this process less daunting. Make sure you're going to leave a copy of a resume or make up some simple business cards. There are templates in Word you can use to quickly print some on your home printer. You don't have to do something expensive. Some of the like Vistaprint will give you 500 or 250 your first ones for free, and you can have them shipped directly to your home. Something to think about, okay? Get one of those people's cards as well, because you want to be able to follow up with them. Remember, they're talking to hundreds of people, and it's not on them, it's on you to do the communication and say, thank you. I'd love to talk to you again.
And remember, 250 business cards sounds like a lot of business cards, but when we meet next time, you're going to hear from the organizers, and they have over 400 vendors planned to be on the exhibit hall, and that's half of what they normally have. So you could go through 250 business cards pretty easily at one of these events if you're real proactive. So
Exactly.
at least I would go 50 to 100 to be on the safe side of the minimal if you're bringing things.
Definitely. I want to emphasize this last bullet. Follow up with the contact and with a thank you note and requesting a meeting. Always, always, always show your gratitude that they are providing their time to you, information to you. Be gracious, because they're going to remember that. The more that I hear from employers, they just acted like I was just one of the other employers that they were talking to. The ones they remember are the ones that say, thank you so much for your time today. I really learned a lot, and I can't wait to talk again.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. Every time I go, I spend like a week at the end of a conference writing thank you notes to everybody. But here is my tip to you. And when you're making your own business card, I always have a pen with me, and I always write on the business card of the person I just spoke with what I talked to them about, so that when I go back, it's not just oh, Brian Jones, it was nice to meet you from Vestas. It's like, hey, we just talked about this great, internship program that so-and-so requests, that giving that context and really bringing light to that conversation again is important. So I'm horrible at remembering things, so I always make notes on there. And I even on my business card leave note lines on the back for people to do the same thing after they talk to me.
Definitely. So. Well, question and answer for a little bit. I know, Remy, you probably have some wrap up things, and I wanted to try and leave us 15 minutes for that. And yeah, how can I be helpful?
Well, first of all, Tony, thank you so much. I mean, I haven't done a resume in 10 years or thought about any of this, and this was super duper helpful to me. So I can imagine that these guys who are right at the cusp of needing all of this are grateful to the information that you just gave us. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely, thank you for your for the info and your time. And Remy, I just have a question, last question for, do you think you want to wrap up and then I ask my question? It's up to you.
You can ask your question now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just something happened during my interview today, and I wanted to ask Tony. So I applied for this project management job in a solar construction company, and during the interview, the guy asked me why I did not apply for the modeling side of things. Maybe having a master's degree, he thought that I might fit better there. So I was a little bit confused on how to answer him, because I don't want to lose that opportunity for which I've interviewed. So I just I will tell you what I did, and you can tell me whether I messed it up or not. So I told him I am new, so it's quite exciting to either join the project management, or either way I will be learning a lot. And I can apply for that as well. And I seeked his advice, and that's it. But I don't know how this will impact my application.
I think you handled that perfectly. That's fine. I mean, you're talking about saying, you know, oh yeah, well, that sounds interesting. I didn't think about that. Yeah, I'll apply to that as well. I think you should take that as a compliment, though, when someone is saying, you know, well, I wonder why you didn't apply for this. What they're seeing is that you have transferable skills. Not that those skills that they saw wouldn't be a good fit for the project management side. I think they were just thinking that, I think this would be a good fit over there as well. What you can do is send a thank you note that addresses it again and says, you know, my passion for project management is blah, blah, blah. And the skill sets I have in these areas, I think would be an excellent fit. And your organization, I saw on your mission, or I saw this new project, or, you know, I see that I could make a good contribution there. However, I really appreciated you pointing out that modeling job, because here are some skills that I think would be a good fit there. However, I think they're transferable to what we interviewed about today. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Always spin positive, right?
Lemonade.
Exactly. What other questions? Oh, hi, Luke.
And we have Nazreen who joined us, and I think maybe it was an issue with the timing on it, but Nazreen is here. I don't know if she would like to say hi.
Hi everyone, sorry for being late. I got cut, so.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to answer some questions as well. If we have some time, we can talk a little bit more about that. But
yeah, I can wrap up a little, and then if we have some time, maybe we can talk with Nazreen a little bit about what we did that she might have missed, but we recorded the whole session. So if you had to pop out and pop back in because of internet issues, just know we'll send the full recording to everybody. But I did just want to just say, you know, thank you again to Tony, but there is a little bit of wrap up here, just like a little bit of housekeeping. We initially set these calls or these sessions to be on Wednesdays from 3 to 5 Eastern time. Nobody showed up last week, and I don't know if it was a fumble with the Zoom link or the time differences in all the different time zones, but is this a time that works for you guys? This would be next Wednesday at this point from 3 to 5 p.m. And I see Luke shaking his head no. Maybe maybe if you could put in the chat too, if I can find my chat. Where's my chat? There's my chat. If you can let me know if that works, because if not, I can just do another doodle. But if it works for most people, I already have a bunch of things set up. So for the next call, the plan is for Tony to come back, but only for like maybe a half hour to hear how your experience was catching up with your career center, working on your resume, working on your elevator pitch, maybe trying a informal or an informational interview. But then at that point, we're going to kind of switch gears. And I want to highlight some other opportunities for students that you may or may not know about. So NREL, the National Renewable Energy Lab, will be talking with us about some of the things that they offer, from different competitions to internship programs. And then I have RISE, I hope, is going to come and talk to us about their mentoring program and job boards and things that they provide. And then the folks that are organizing SPI are going to come on and kind of give you the preview of the exhibit floor and what you're to expect when you show up at the event. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to meet the mentors. And I haven't really figured out exactly what we're going to do for the mentoring, depending on how many students we end up kind of really getting. We had 14 or so register, but only a handful of you guys are here today, and we'll see what happens as we move forward. But we might have a couple of mentors, and maybe you get to spend some time with all the mentors instead of like just having one. We create your constellation. But anyway, we'll meet our mentors and we'll talk a little bit more about what we're going to do at the event. But it sounds like Luke shaking his head no. Sadia says Wednesdays don't work. Anybody else have any feedback for me on this?
Wednesday is okay, but most of classes end by 5. So if you can maybe push it to 5 Central Time, or
Okay.
That's just an option. If it's not possible, then
I think maybe
just-
what I might just have to do another doodle poll. And at this point, the whole idea was that we would give you 2 weeks in between. So this is also rushing it a bit. So maybe we can push it off to not next week, but the week after next, give
Mhm.
ourselves some time to doodle availability. It sounds so horrible. I'm gonna doodle this stuff. And then hope that we can still have the NREL. I'll send the doodle poll also out to the NREL folks and all the other speakers and folks that we wanted to have there, in hopes that we can just get feedback from everybody and see what works best. But again, we will record it. So worst comes to worst, you can always watch it later. But we'll try to find the time that meets the needs of many. So we will plan a doodle poll for the week of, that would be what, the week of the after Labor Day, what, the week of the 13th or something? Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Well, if that's the consensus, I'm happy to push it back. That gives us, that'll be the week before SPI. But I think that that's fine at that point. Any other thoughts or anything on?
I have a question, if you don't
Yes.
mind. Was this session recorded? So in
It
case no
was,
one
and I will share I will upload the MP4 to our YouTube channel and share the YouTube link with you guys.
Perfect, thank you.
And Tony is sending also the PowerPoint slides for his presentation, which has lots of clickable links, which, since you missed a majority of that, you can go through and find lots of examples of resumes and elevator pitches and things like that.
Perfect.
And your
thank
career
you.
center link, because that's the
Yes.
important part.
Definitely. Any additional questions about job search I can help with? I'm happy to answer. Things you're challenged with too.
You're welcome, Eunice. Thank you.
All right.
And Tony's email is in your presentation somewhere too. So if you have questions afterwards that you forgot to ask, they can contact you. Is that correct?
Yeah, I actually will. I'll send that to you, and then you can share it with them with the presentation, and then people
Or I'll
can.
just copy you on the email, and then you'll be on
Yeah.
the email list. One way or
Perfect.
another, you'll find them.
Remember, don't do this alone. Make your job search human. You've got this.
You got it.
okay, thanks a lot.
Thank
You're
you.
so welcome.
And Remy, I'll stay on if you want, if that's helpful.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing, but we'll hang out if people want to take off. If others want to stay on and ask more questions, we'll be here. Thanks, Sadia.
Thanks, Adia.
So I missed like the first 30 minutes or so. Could I just get like a quick explanation of what repowering schools is?
Yeah, sure. So we're a national nonprofit that supports renewable energy education around the country. So we work with universities and K-12 schools and students and and industry to make sure that renewable energy education is being offered at all different levels of education to really promote the pipeline into the renewable energy industry. So we do lots of different things, from like supporting folks like Dr. Miles's center at JMU, but we also host award programs, and we do these scholarship programs and this pre-conference session stuff. And we do an education summit every year for renewable energy educators. So it's a lot of kind of networking and collaborating amongst educators and industry. Does that help?
Yeah. So do you guys don't like actively like work with writing like curriculum? You just kind of tell people and like.
No,
work-
we're more of like we partner with folks that offer curriculum, and we help support the folks that use the curriculum, but we are not curriculum writers.
Okay.
Are you looking for some ideas or anything? Because we can help you.
No, I was just wondering.
Okay. Yeah. And if you are looking for folks that write curriculum, if you have an interest or you have a friend who has an interest, we can totally hook you up with companies that do that. I have a bunch of folks that are looking for curriculum writers right now.
You said Dr. Miles, you know him personally?
Yeah, I run the center at JMU. He and I run the center together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's my capstone advisor for.
Awesome. What's your capstone project?
The East Campus power plant on JMU. We're retrofitting it for green energy.
Oh, the wind facility and the upgrades.
No,
Okay.
no,
You'll be
like-
working with me too.
I don't know if it's the wind facility. It's like the actual plant at the bottom of the hill.
Oh, the
like
solar repowering of the solar facility.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Luke.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys. I'm gonna head out, but maybe we'll see you next session. So
Sounds
thank
great.
You.
We hope to see you there.
All right, thanks, Tony.
Sorry, I'm trying to make my video work, but apparently there's a problem. But I just wanted to let you know that I'm super excited about these sessions, and I'm looking forward to watch the recording. And I know Sadia said she learned a lot. I'm sure I'm gonna learn a lot as well. I'm new to the renewable energy field, so yeah, I'm super excited.
Awesome.
And thank you for organizing this.
Yeah, and awesome that you're transitioning to renewable energy. It's just taking off right now. If you're interested in wind energy at all, the new administration, I mean, they are pumping offshore wind full of money. So there is some real opportunity coming up there for land-based and offshore. So consider that as one of your options. And
Awesome.
Remy is great contact. So make sure that you're working with her, and I hope you find the information valuable, and I'm available for questions if I can help.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in the solar energy, but
okay.
That's an information I didn't know about. So I should consider that, as you said. But I have a background in forest ecology, and I'm right now trying to work with people who are doing agrivoltaics, which is like sort of agroforestry, but to replace the trees, they are using solar panels. So this is a way to conserve water, and at the same time, it makes land use more efficient. Like you can grow food and produce energy at the same time. I think this is so cool, and that's one of the things I would love to take part of in the future.
That's wonderful. And I'm hoping that you'll find lots of folks at SPI that are, that's such a hot topic right now. I would hope that we would be able to find you lots of great connections.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really looking forward.
Where are you located?
And sorry, what was that?
Where are you?
Right now I'm in the United States, but I'm from Algeria.
What university are you at?
University of Science and Technology, Houari Boumediene in Algiers.
Okay.
But the agrivoltaic projects and research programs I'm interested in are happening here in the US.
Okay.
Where in the US are you located? Are you looking for
Arizona?
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
The agrivoltaic program is at the U of A in the geography department.
Okay. Yeah, I know there's a company called AES that's getting super active in Arizona. And they do agrivoltaics. They work in Virginia as well. And I was talking with one of them, and they would actually sell honey.
The name of the company?
It's called AES.
AES. Okay.
They used to be called S Power, but they recently merged with somebody else. And anyway, so I think they're pretty, could be a really good fit. And I don't know that they're going to SPI. We have a lot of companies that aren't traveling. So, but I personally know some of the folks that work there, and Rise would be another place to look for. I'm sure they're active in the women of renewable industries and sustainable energy. But anyway, so
thanks for the information.
yeah, it was so funny. They were trying to tell me about their AES honey that came from their pollinator gardens around their solar farms in Virginia, which I thought was super cute.
Cool. Wow. All right. Well,
Awesome.
see you next session.
Yep, you bet. We'll see you next time. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Tony.
Yeah, no problem. Do you need anything from me, Remy, at all?
I don't think so. I think my daughter is waiting for me to go and watch a movie with her, so I better get to my next appointment.
Awesome. All right. If you have any feedback for me, let me know, okay?
Well, I thought it was fabulous. I thought you did. I mean, it was awesome. I think everybody got a lot of. I need to obviously redo my resume. I haven't rewritten my resume in 10 years, and I'm so bad. I've got so many like things that happened to me in 10 years that I don't even know how to put it all on a resume anymore. So
awesome. Well,
so
I look forward. If you want to do another session, let me know. I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds like a plan. Bye, Tony.
Bye.